Okay, what we're going to be doing today is talking about the life of Saint Alexis, La Vie de Saint Alexis. Just a note on this series in general, so I've deliberately missed one out, which is the Fragment de Valenciennes, because I'm not very informed on that one. It's basically written mostly, almost entirely in Tyronian notes. You might want to you might want to look up what those are for a start. Basically, I'm not very good on those. Therefore, I could sort of read a transcription and talk about that a little bit. And it's a short thing, and not much of it is in Old French anyway. It's mainly in Latin. So, for all of those reasons, I've basically decided to miss it out. And so after this, there is just the Song of Roland, La Chanson de Roland. And after that, I mean, obviously I could continue basically forever if I wanted to, which I don't. So after this one and the following one, the Song of Roland, I am going to stop. So basically, if we talk about the image, it is an image of Saint Alexis. The frustrating thing is the St Alban Psalter, or this is obviously not part of the Psalter, but the St Alban Psalter and the whole manuscript does have a lovely image of the Vie de Saint Alexis. But for copyright reasons, I'm not allowed to use it. And I did say I was only going to use copyright-free images. And because the possessors of the manuscript, they can copyright the images of the manuscript, but not the content. I can see it online and I can transcribe it, and that's completely fine. And that's completely legal, but I can't use the images of the manuscript. So I do have a transcription which I will get onto, of that manuscript, and I've got an image of a different manuscript. So the image is of Saint Alexis. It is from Legenda Aurea by Jacobus de Voragine. That's my best medieval Latin accent. And I have tried to find out which manuscript it's actually from, but I'm reading now on Arlima, Archive de Littérature du Moyen Âge, and there are 1,042 manuscripts. So therefore, I'm told by the website I found it on, it is from the 14th century, and it is an image of Saint Alexis, and therefore I'm using it, but I can't tell you the exact manuscript it comes from. So like I said, this is a transcription of the first 10 lines of the manuscript from the St Alban Psalter manuscript. Again, yeah, it is pretty frustrating that I can't show you the picture of what it looks like. It's a particularly pretty one. I can link to it. There's no reason why I can't link to the publicly available website. There's no copyright issues there. So I can put a link in the description, but I can't show you a picture of it. So what's interesting if we look here, first of all, we can look at the final T in the past tense endings. Line 10, emperet, which is the French empire. Well, I believe it is empire, as in to worsen, to make worse. So we can look at that one. Line 4, perdut, instead of perdu, which has been spelled like that way since, sort of 1150-ish. We've got perdut. The story, they reckon, I say they, I don't know how they reckon they work out how old these stories are. So this is the oldest manuscript, which is from 1120, circa 1120. They reckon it's from about 1050. So the philologists date this at about 1050. And I don't know exactly where that date comes from. It's one of there are lots of things I don't understand, of course. I'm still, I'm less than 10 years into reading Old French, and that might sound like a long time, but no, I've got plenty to do to keep learning. So I don't know where that date comes from. Clearly, if this is accurately dated at circa 1120, it has to be at least as old as that. Another interesting fact about this story is it's the oldest story tale that we have several manuscripts of. So all the ones I've cited so far, and La Chanson de Roland, which comes next, which isn't quite as old as this, or we don't think it is, they all survive via a single manuscript, whereas this one, we have various ones. So in terms of other interesting features, I think line 1, we've got bons fut les siecles. So fut, F-U-T, that tells us it's a singular. So we've got the subject singular above the adjective and the noun bons with an S, masculine. Bons fut les siecles, which is masculine as well. That's why it has an S in the subject singular, the nominative singular. Al temps ancienneux. So siècle is not siècle, as in century, because that wouldn't really make any sense. We reckon it was, sort of roughly means sort of the time gone by, the days gone by, the past in general. Now if we move on, this is the manuscript 19525 of the BNF, which is La Bibliothèque Nationale de France. This is much more recent. Well, it's significantly more recent. It is 13th century, so 1201 to 1300. We can already see more sort of classic Old French spellings that you would expect. So the first line, we've got siecles, S-I-E, that is, ancienor, the last word is O-R at the end. Ancienor, I'll actually go through meanings at the end, I think, rather than do them now. You can see some manuscript features or typical manuscript abbreviations. So you've got the second line, you've got the Tyronian et twice. Car fate a justice, you probably pronounce it et, actually it's probably et, so it's probably et justice et amour. We can also look at the macron on line 3, dunk. Again, that's actually a good example of an ambiguous word, because I think it's dunk, D-U-N-C, with the macron or the tilde. The tilde, that's basically when it's written quickly, looks identical to a macron. So, but if you look, it could well be dunt, D-U-N-T as well, it's ambiguous. And another quite good one is tot est muet perdu à sa couleur. So that's our example of not perdut with a T at the end, but it's feminine, that's one difference as well. But it's not perdu de, it's perdu with no T or no D at the end. So tot est, that is a Latin, obviously not just Latin, that is an abbreviation of the word est, and it looks a bit like the modern division sign that nobody actually uses for division. We can also note something I've noted in other videos. So we've got the big illustration of B, bons fut les siècles. There's no other capital letters. So al temps Noé, which is Noah, et al temps Abraham, no capital A, et al David que Deus ama tant. So that took me a while to read that. I thought it was a Dan, D-A-I-N. But if you look, there is a dot. It's a sort of funny looking dot by modern standards. It's sort of at an angle, but al Davi, D-A-V-I, you can see a dot over the I, which tells you it's V-I. Again, it looks a bit like it could be D-A-N-I as well, but again, that doesn't. That's also an example of when you can go back to the other manuscript and it says David, D-A-V-I-D. So therefore, you can eliminate the two possibilities and say that it is David. And I think finally the last point, you can see the more modern French spelling of Vaillant, that's line 8, V-A-I-N-N-A-N-T. And we can see, as referenced in the last image, line 9, déclinant. So, viex est et frailes, tot sont ve déclinant. And there's one final thing, if we just go through, so any vocabulary that doesn't exist in modern French anymore, ancienor, of the ancients, so it's ancien with or, the suffix, meaning of the belonging to. Just a quick addendum, what is being depicted in the image is the part of St. Alexis's life where he comes back into his parents' house and he lives under their staircase. I will post a link to the French Wikipedia which gives a plot summary of the story because I've already overrun and I don't want to go through the full thing. And the second point is, if you look in the description of the video, I've put a link to my transcription of the BNF manuscript, the excerpt from the manuscript 19525, which is a 13th century one which I have transcribed myself and is available for free.